Welcome back, everybody, to the PPL. It's time to move on to our second match of the day for NA territory. My name is the Tigress, and we still got I Hold Shift here with pretty hair on the end.
We got a whole lot of handsome on this side of the
You're not wrong.
It's a little cozier over here, but I like it.
You do you, boo-boo.
It's good to see you, brother.
Hey, you too.
Well, going into this next set, we actually have SK and Splyce facing off against one another, and we just saw Splyce in action against Renegades. But Shift, I want to get your perspective on what you've seen from SK so far.
Not much, if I'm being completely candid. It's one of those things that's like, it's really baffling because you look at Wi-Fi, solid frontline performer. You look at Bitey, probably one of the best callers and minds in the game, when it comes down to it. And Vex has been Vex, the dirty 30. He's been looking absolutely solid when it comes to support. So you really have to look, is it just the fact that you lost your 2 damage dealers? Is that really putting that big of a wrench in the system for you? So far, it seems to be yes is the consensus for it.
Still don't really have a guy that loves and is giddy to play those blasters either, which I don't think is helping anyone in North America.
Right.
And that's going to be a big conversation going into the LAN. But one thing that they do have sort of that they're leaning on, I think, is these pip solo supports and these other solo supports in general, the Grovers, whatever it may be. I think these supports for North America are looking very, very flexible in this split.
All right, well, we've watched SK throughout the entirety of the PPL season so far, so let's take a look at their highlights from times past.
Fighting a kill, see one another. Can they pick off the last one? Denial Esports!
Coming in from Shady Shades, are just too much to deal with. Barrage has been used by Vector as well. Very low on health. Savages Shady Shades, and even though...
Ooh, later. Ooh. Ooh.
Hyper comes out, will find kills. He finds 2. So
Terry protection, but shield down, and Vocal just doesn't miss, and Leon is caught out of the open.
I think the part for Vex is probably my favorite of that entire video. Got a little bit of that flavor with that one. And speaking of all these players, but Vex in particular, he's been a support a lot have talked about, and especially when you think of the cuss cuties of NA and such, and Vex really making a name for himself, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's when you think back to the Astral days when he was the 6th man, it just felt like, why is he a 6th man on a team? He is definitely starting caliber, and he's shown up just absolutely pivotal performances out of Vex. I mean, he has been my biggest rising star, I think, from you go back to the fall until now. He's been incredible.
And, off screen, he fills, I think, a big role for this SK team. We talked a lot about Bitey at the LAN. Kind of getting an idea of that team dynamic is important, especially when Bitey's on that team. It's like, is this just, the Virtus Pro where everyone's following Elven Path, everyone kind of following Bitey because he is just a big personality? It's easy to think that way, but he's like, no, not really at all, honestly. Wiffle and Vex do a ton of the draft work, do almost all of our in-game drafting, and it's just kind of I give my input, and that's pretty much it.
And with the changes we've seen in the style of the supports, whether they're flexing onto something else or not, but bringing that damage potential, Pretty Hair, do you think that Vex has been able to keep up in that way with things like the pip?
Absolutely. I think, like I said, both of these North American supports, Vex is right there under Cuss Cutie, and then kind of the rest of the pack starting to bring up, Arai is kind of new back to the game. Viral's new to the PPL.
Yeah.
But Vex is, he's been around the block at this point. He was that 6th man for Cuss Cutie. He had that inside angle into one of the best supports with North America, and it's only natural for him to step up into this role.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is stepping up. It's not just the fact that we're looking at him coming into the PPL as, starting, 6 months back, but the fact that we're starting to see supports in general be the big conversating point when it comes to how teams are being either successful or unsuccessful. It comes down to those pivotal moments. It's one Evil Mojo, it's one Dread Serpent, and Vex has been absolutely clutch when it comes to saving butts, flat out.
And on the side of Splyce, you have Arai there as support, but a lot of the players that have been developing throughout the season, and we've been really waiting for that time for them to get their first victory. How do you think with this discussion of support, Arai plays a role in that?
It's just strange because you look back to the name Arai, and he's got so much reputation behind him from what he's been able to do in the past with, you look back to the Eager squad, HM1, and now he's sitting on a team that's really trying to find their groove flat out. And you can see it in his play style as well. There are moments of brilliance, but they come kind of few and far between at times when they really need to be there. So for Arai, it's got to be tough when you're dealing with such a flank-started roster with Rakata and Moonchopper on it. He's got to be trying to find that right focus. But for me, Nick, it just comes down to getting comfortable for this squad.
Personally, I don't feel like there are any players currently in the PPL that are mechanically not cutting the mustard.
Well, sure.
I think that if there is a problem with teams like Splyce, it's in the team dynamic and the amount of roster changes, from Rovnik and Zulu, what I think being the kind of like leaders for that team, to being gone, to now what I assume it's Moonchopper stepping up, but I just don't know, and that's why I'm excited for LAN to start meeting these new faces and get a handle on what is the team dynamic behind the scenes, because I think if there's anything that's going wrong with any of these teams, it's there. It's not like the mechanical skill or prowess of anything. So I think all these players are world class. It's just about how are they playing together as a team? How are they practicing? Do they think the same way? Do they approach the game the same way? It's a lot of things that go in behind the scenes.
Ice Mines, Jaguar Falls, both banned away in this match. And for a team like Splyce, you mentioned we're coming into LAN territory, kind of out of the picture for them, but still looking for that organization win here in the PPL, which for the longevity of all of them, that's going to be very important within just Paladins in general.
Because it's like, look at NIP. It's like, who the hell do you bench on that roster? And how dare you for thinking that? And no matter who you say, but it's like, it's got to be something off screen. It's got to be something with the team dynamic that's just not meshing it. And it's like, what is that secret sauce that allows Fnatic to go 8-0?
Right, then that's huge. It could be just how the game's changed. It could be a patch-to-patch thing.
Yeah.
But flat out, I mean, you hit it on the head. And that's the interesting thing when you look at a team like Splyce that's bringing in new players to the PPL versus players who've been in the competitive scene of Paladins for such a long time. And you mentioned it, the Rovnik, El Zulu kind of falling apart from this team. You really kind of have to worry about who is taking that leadership role. This is going to be a really great matchup, though. I think if Splyce ends their season on a right note here, it would be a really good proving point.
Especially with two teams with nothing to lose.
Oh, exactly.
It's like we're going to see some Willow today. We're going to see some Vivian. We're going to see some Moji or something
Let's
today.
See it. I'm ready for the Moji.
And I'm pumped. I can't wait. SK, and for them still, it's like, I feel like they're in a spot right now where G2 was at, like towards the end of season 1, where it's like, who the hell's playing what officially? And while G2 are still a very fluid, enigmatic roster, I think SK, it's like Bitey's been like on front line, and now he's like playing more DPS, played almost exclusively DPS last week. That's the direction I personally want to see SK go, because I think that's just where Bitey's heart lies, and I think that's where he's going to be most effective. But it's like, it's the conversation, is alternate going to have to be main roster for that to happen? Where's Invocal going to fit in if that happens? A lot of questions for SK.
Well, it's for sure made for an interesting conversation. You do have that domino effect to a degree within when you decide to flex someone in a different direction. And I think Splyce, they go and ban the Makoa right off the bat, which is probably a good choice for them in this.
Yeah, a very good choice considering what just happened.
Look at Cassie go 6th. Look at you, girl.
You worked that.
She's fallen. But I think
not viable anymore, by the way.
For me, she's just like solid A+, and there's those drafts where there's like funny business when Ruckus and Makoa are intentionally let through. Everyone's like on high alert, and it's like, well, do they want us to pick this cat? Like, I don't know. Do we actually do
the
it
mind
here?
game?
She's like super solid in almost every scenario here, but I think there are things you prioritize higher given what is the overall strategy you're trying to approach with. And with Androxus, you have to assume Invocal's playing today.
You would have to figure that much. The interesting, as you take a look, Brightmarsh is one of those really strange maps. It's so tight in so many areas, especially that neutral capture point. Finding a way to get Inara and Terminus off that point is going to be very difficult to do that, especially with the solo Fernando. This is going to be an interesting frontline matchup, I think.
Very solid holding potential on the side of SK, and Nando, a lot of pressure in that aspect, but our casters are ready to take us into game number 1 of SK versus Splyce, so let's hop to it.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, you guys look up Hood Naruto and then watch that guy's Power Ranger video. You know exactly what we're doing. I'm the red. He's the red Power Ranger. I'm the blue Power Ranger. I felt like we had to open it up with a little bit of spice. Plus, we are the Party Boys. I have nicknamed us the Party Boys because me and Gore, we like to have fun. We're heading into SK and Splyce. This may be a funner set. It may not be. Funner's not a word. I know that. But it also may give us some ideas, hopefully, of where these teams are headed towards next season and in their development.
And this is kind of a glance. I want to say it towards where SK is gearing up because they are invited to the Vegas land. So they get to go no matter what. And so this is actually a good way to kind of look into what are they planning around here? Are you maybe changing things up? Are you trying to adapt? Or are you figuring out things in the meta that we haven't seen yet?
I think that's a great point. And what do you guys think? What's going to happen here today? So SK Gaming, leave a like if you think they're going to win. And Splyce, go ahead and put that heart in the chat if you think they're going to take it. I have high hopes for Splyce. I have high hopes for SK. Both of those sentiments come pure from my heart. I do think all of these guys on these teams have given a lot to the esport and deserve wins. Right now, one's going to get it. You know, I'm so interested to see how this clash unfolds. There's just so many variables, too, that could really take the story in a different direction.
And I'm excited because, you know, when you give it the notation of battle of the bottom, right? When
Yes.
it's like the two teams that are kind of low, they're not really doing that well overall this season. But if you go and even just put them up against some of the teams we saw in Season 1,
yeah,
they're going to be that much stronger. Like, they are just a very solid team, and it's just seeing everything rise up so far this split. Splyce are definitely the ones that are looking, they need that win. They really want it. But the question of whether or not they can find it is really in SK's hands.
Interesting loadout there from William, and it does appear that loadout gives him flexibility to run whatever he wants. You would think because of the weightless, you know, and the gift giver, he's running more of a mega potion style in this draft, but he could easily be running side tanks and going for the catalyst and just saying, I want to be safer, I want to have more mobility on Brightmarsh, I also want to be able to give a selfless heal and still get some benefit there. He healed a full health front line, so we're not going to see exactly how much that's doing. And we switch away before we can get the answer. Moonchopper here on the Mave, trying to start it out. 15% already for SK as they force Splyce back for now.
Good shots, but they're fighting really far back, and you can see SK being able to capitalize on that, aggressing onto the point, just holding onto it. And when you have Terminus, you have a Nara. That's exactly what you want. You're just pretty much sitting there uncontested.
That heal looked like it didn't actually heal. I've seen that before with Pip, and I don't know what's going on. That one looked like it might have missed, but the one on Moonchopper was literally behind his head. And I just wonder, how did that not connect? He heals himself up there for 1,200. SK Gaming captured the objective, and you kind of wonder, what were they doing? No catalyst indeed, as that did not get the bonus damage, so Mega Potion it is. But you got to say, what was Splyce's plan there? They didn't quite do anything.
I mean, it seems as though they have like an egg that has an unbreakable shell. They couldn't fight through where SK was. They didn't know how to approach it. Even with the flanks, I mean, Moonchopper is known for this Mave, but wasn't able to get around, wasn't able to make a really big splash in the water. And I think you're seeing kind of, I mean, Shady Shade's a lot of members on SK really kind of on comfort picks, and they don't have much room they have to give up.
That's true. A lot of comfort picks here. SK, Wi-Fi, he's been playing the Sonara weeks on end, and he's been looking better and better. I love the transition into the Grover as well, and Invocal trying to do some fancy footwork up in the sky. Nice shot there as he falls down. A couple of shots there into the dome of Pip, the walking head box. In vain, forced into the Immortal. This is looking troublesome for Splyce.
So far, the shots are really good. I love his air control coming around the back, and be able to find it. Gets rid of William, but immediately falls. Moonchopper finally starting to make an impact here, but you have to wonder if maybe it's a little bit too late or a little bit too soon, because SK are going to be able to get back in no time.
Minute 24 now, Splyce holding to try and just get their team together, some type of cohesiveness, which we did not see at the start of that fight. SK Gaming, though, looking pretty good, definitely wanting to play off of this Terminus, the double Stigala, two of the tankiest tanks in this game, and also combined make one of the most difficult front lines to actually supplant off of the point. Biden here jumping up with a Shatterfall, and as the Midnight comes in, Vocal finds Moonchopper, so now they're already down a man as this push looks to continue.
Stun looking to go through, not going to connect with a lot, not going to find too much, but it does separate Splyce up and puts Ricotta and William on the chopping block. They're going to get taken down. The Payload back in control of SK, and they actually force a Rai almost jumping off.
You could say it puts them on the moon chopping block.
The moon chopping block. It's a little different from a regular chopping block, a little bit lighter gravity. Can float away if you're not too careful.
I mean, some people sell t-shirts. He sells chopping blocks. I don't know what it is. It's a, it's a stylistic
quick
thing.
buck on the side.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's a very stylish guy. You never know, but he's gone to take it that direction. Wi-Fi here on a 3 streak. 18 seconds left now. Looking to zone, holding down this left side. Street Justice could be troublesome in there. Force the whirlwind from Grover. Oh, and he already unlocks the wall and hits a couple of shots there. Ricotta finding Invocal, but Invocal getting a clutch kill onto William 355. Bitey trading out to Moonchopper. Ricotta trying to just salvage any damage that's been left, but Shady Shades is fighting well. Ricotta fights even better. 28 health, and he's looking to slay Vex. He's still fighting, and now finally gets the heal.
Going to be up a little bit closer to his full health bar. Invocal coming back. They're going to be able to get rid of a Rai. No healing available for Splyce. But it doesn't really matter. They have the kills. They have the zone. And they get the defense.
Nice stuff from Ricotta there. I mean, we're seeing
really
some fantastic Shaolin play. And Ricotta running the Bullseye 3. We saw a high level of that being run by Poison, getting a lot of resets. Quicksand, a big one for that Impaler Arrow style play, just giving the cooldown to it. And Shimmer, another card that got introduced into Shaolin's loadout and immediately got picked up by pros. They love this reset. It's very odd to play because you do not expect 2 withdraws from Shaolin in a fight, but he gets it.
And we saw that, I want to say, kind of come into a favor. It's not necessarily always going to be there, but just having that withdrawal, and if you have good communication, all of a sudden you're invisible and someone else pulls the attention away. It keeps you alive. It keeps you in there longer. That helps Poison a lot, and I feel like that's going to help Ricotta in a lot of these fights, at least staying engaged, being able to keep Splyce on their toes, or SK on their toes, to make sure, where is that Shaolin going?
And, you know, I'm baffled because I saw those healing numbers, and that doesn't look like a Mega Potion Pip. 10,000 healing compared to the 50 for the Grover. My only other thought is this a Mischief Pip? Is that what we're seeing?
Gotta watch the cooldowns.
We do have to watch the cooldowns when he starts to use them. Double kill here on the side, though. But, I mean, that would be the only thing. And it is. It's Mischief. It's running a Mischief Pip, so we finally spotted. This is the first time I think I've seen it in the PPL. We might have missed it because it is easy to miss. It's just every shot he takes reduces the cooldown of all his other abilities. It creates some incredible mobility on the map and also a lot of damage pressure if you can just snowball these fights and land your shots, which William is doing.
When you look at it, you get a slow up way more often. You get your heal up way more often. You get a lot more application in the fight as long as you're able to stay alive and find it, although Invocal so far has been kind of making it a pain for him to keep going. Moonchopper comes to the side, going to be able to chunk down Bitey, but he's not dead yet. Finds it, but there's still Wi-Fi. There's still the rest of the team, and they can't break through.
Oh, Moonchopper's got to find this kill. He's waiting. The reversal dissuades him from going up. 72% now. Gets a heal from William355. Ultimates, are they on board? Evil Mojo, 90%, waiting for that. Heat haze pop by Shaolin. Ricotta trying to find Shady Shades, gets a double. Splyce trying to turn this around. SKR crumbling like a cookie, and there's Vex. He gets it with the explosive arrow. Is he going to make it out alive? One shot, threading the needle. Still can't find it, but Vayne finds the kill on the Bitey. Once the Gala falls, another falls as well. Husband and wife meet the grave at the same time, and Splyce take the lead here over SK.
And now immediately getting aggressive as well. Make up this zone, get that payload as far as you can, as fast as you can, and you can see Shady Shades, Bitey, all of them getting pushed away and actually corralled into this one little zone. Maybe Vayne getting a little bit too aggressive. They're fighting into the room with them, but still, Splyce know what they're doing, trying to get this going as fast as they can.
You know, the corral made me think of sheep, which made me think of animals, which made me think of dogs. And then I thought of rock dogs, because the Stigala were the ones being referenced at that time on the camera. I just thought, what, do Stigala have dogs, William?
I like to think they do. I think everyone deserves dogs.
I mean, that would be a very interesting thing to see. I love not a cosplay, but an artist to come up with some type of concept for what a Stigala dog would look like. As Invocal here, he's trying to let the dogs out at least. He's got a time to showcase himself on this Androxus. And he is doing well so far, just not able to contend with that great point fight from Ricotta last round.
And not something that we've gotten to see as much as of late, I want to say, outside of maybe Loki running it every now and then.
That's true.
Not too much Androxus being picked through, but with the way it's fitting into this, it's doing a lot, although you can't do much when Maeve can just go through your health like that. Bitey, I don't know if there was ever a time he was going to take that fight.
I mean, in Maeve, it's like he's got her on the ropes, but then she lands in a gore. That's the worst thing ever. Great shots there by Ricotta. Forces Invocal back, but not out. And that time that he just couldn't find the kill means that Invocal finds a double and does put a little bit of a damper on the push from Splyce thus far. 50 seconds left on the payload. Invocal here finds a double. Looking to find a trip here onto Hero. Excuse me, not onto Hero, onto Vayne. Hero's doing so many Fernando plays that stuck out in my mind last map, so I referenced that one. But they all fall, and SK Gaming have the hold.
With the way things are going, 30 seconds left. You should have time for one more touchdown, potentially get overtime onto this, but you have to just break through. And SK are not the kind of team to let you through easily. You can see the Stigala immediately become the bodyguards up front, kind of keeping everyone going. But Invocal is looking for whatever plays he could make.
I would have loved you to even go further on the football reference there. Feel free. You have full sports reference freedom with me, as everyone knows. I'm going to do my basketball thing. You could do your football thing if you want. Moonchopper here trying to finesse this corner, but SK Gaming not going to let him. And they're going to leave that to Bruno Mars there.
See, their issue is they weren't dripping with finesse.
They were not dripping.
That's the real big difference. You can't just have it. You got to be dripping.
Slightly moist with finesse. Not dripping, though.
Not
unfortunate. Need a few more minutes in the sauna, and then you're good.
Being able to maybe find your way around the corner. It's just so difficult, I want to say, to break through because of the way SK kind of approached that and the way things have gone. I mean, 14-7 right now is Invocal.
Holy carry.
You don't want to show your face if you know he's around that corner.
Oh, man. This is
1-2, 1-5, 1-4, 2-4, 14-7. I wonder where all the kills are
It's like watching a Stolzy rank game on stream, man. I tell you, it's 14-7. Then telling everybody that all his teammates are bots. SK Gaming don't have to deal with Stolzy's commentary right now. Will that remain for the future? Who knows? Anything can happen.
As it stands, immediately getting aggressive, not finding anywhere near as many shots as you would really want to see out of him, and this might actually be a little bit of a demise for him. Half health, forced out of the fight.
Fight taking over on the left-hand side as well. There's the seismic crash from Inara. Vines up. Here's the Evil Mojo as well on the Bitey. He still can reanimate after this. So here's the choice. Does he go for it? Ricotta in the back line. They know they can isolate the damage dealer, but they feel comfortable enough within Vocal and Vex there that they can handle it. But Ricotta slowly but surely outplaying all the great shot before he can disappear into the darkness, and no Androxus will escape the mighty bane of Ricotta. Man, this man is playing out of his mind today on the Desert Wind.
Shaolin has been insane so far today, and if he can continue this up, I mean, right now, Ricotta is the way for Splyce to be able to win this game. The rest of the team is not quite hitting as hard as they would like, but him so far spearheading it for them to get back onto the point, maybe making the big difference. If they can get Bitey right here,
wow,
that takes out one of the tanks.
Moonchopper probably just hit that pounce for about 1,500 damage on the Bitey, and that's another thing that's just setting things up. They're being bursted down really well by the rest of the team. Shady Shades has to have a takeover moment here. If SK are going to come back 27% on the objective, he's got to snowball this fight. He tries to go in, but a good heal coming through Maldamba, and of course, William is going to allow Vayne to stay a little healthier than he would have expected. He backs off, but Near's the one that they looked for. William falls, and now Invocal gets the free back line.
Coming around the back, looking for the shot, not going to be able to find it just yet. He's so low on his own. Arai going to get aggressive, but he goes down, not able to find the trade. A nice reversal comes up, and now people are collapsing. Ricotta's in a bad position, but he still finds a kill.
Ricotta! Double kill. He gets both DPS on the side of SK, but is it too little, too late? Ricotta can't get back into the room. A wall from Wi-Fi, and SK Gaming have got what they came for. They may have lost the battle, but they won the war. Now the push can continue to take game one. This has already been a very competitive set.
And that's one of those moments where I guess you have to give it to the distraction factor of the fight outside of just what happens in the fight. Everything's happening way over here. The point, it's completely devoid of any contest, and Splyce probably feeling the little bit of burn from that. And SK were able to get a little bit close with that first payload push, maybe able to find it here, but so far it's been going back and forth. I don't expect them to find the full conversion unless they really want to commit to it.
Doesn't have anything except the revolver. Wonderful stun. Are you kidding me? Out of this world. Seen some incredible plays there from Arai at times, and I think Splyce have just looked excellent in this game. It's a different caliber of play, and maybe that just shows us how good Renegades have turned up the dial today, that Splyce are showing this type of neck-and-neck performance with SK. All of these members who have been a part of Season 1, 3 new PGS members on the side of Splyce now. The improvement I've seen, it's been marvelous.
And that's just the way things have been going. When you look at the teams like, you know, in Europe, you look at Mouse and VP, they look really, really good against each other. Yeah. And then you put them up against Fnatic, and of course they don't get to shine anywhere near as bright. They look really dull. Yeah. And with the way things are going, this is exactly what Splyce have needed. They are incredibly strong, and nice shots coming down. You have the Evil Mojo looking for the Midnight as well to get some damage, but they didn't get too much off of it. They get rid of Wi-Fi, which is probably one of the best skills you could grab.
It is, and this is definitely where you want to fight. One of those cubbies that I mentioned that exist on a lot of maps like Timber Mill and Splitstone Quarry, and of course Brightmarsh as well. And this is the home of Pip. So you get a plus 1% damage buff if you play Pip on this map. And you can test it. You can try. But you'll find out that it's true. Just run Catalyst, though. You'll notice the extra damage there.
You might see on the end screen as well when you do have something like the Boo Blaster or the Rooster Brewster that you do get some style points. It's actually hidden in there.
Yeah.
You have to look really carefully
style
for
credits.
It, it's in there.
Yeah. Best Rest gets an extra 1 credit spooling per 30 minutes per Paladins match. Test it, guys. Let me know. Ricotta here on a 9 streak, 20 seconds left. Again, this explosive arrow has been, it's been wonderful from Ricotta. We see the Desert Shadow, and we see the withdraw style, the more flank into the back line, that ranked approach that Fox likes to talk about and that we've seen successful even in the highest of levels. But explosive arrow has been something that's captivated North America for a long time. Ever since it came out, it's kept Shaolin really relevant despite him having 3 really good legendaries and talents to play around. And I think right now we're seeing the potency that it has in winning these duels against Andro.
Overtime slowly going down. It looks like we might be seeing Splyce push him away, but Bitey's still present, has reanimate. Don't see it coming through, but with Invocal starting to push forward, gets rid of Ricotta, gets rid of William, and now they're rolling again, very comfortable.
my God, that was bodyguard style from Invocal. I mean, Bitey was so low. He had no health, 420 health to his name. And Invocal says, William, you want to come out of this cubby? No, let's go right back in, buddy. Bully shoves him back into the locker and puts his books in there as well and makes it a very uncomfortable experience and then locks it and takes away whatever key may be there for him to get out. 3-streak and up in the air is the man with the plan. The Darkstalker, of course. Ricotta trying to find the return kill here. Shady Shade spots him out, disengage, puts him into the back line, and overtime starts, but Invocal finds that early kill.
Being able to get rid of Ricotta, still hovering around in the air, does have a curse
Gotta find him.
but he doesn't even need the damage as Arai getting low but not down yet. A nice heal coming through, and the Immortal being forced. No one going down for Splyce just yet, and they're getting kills all in their favor.
That pip heal was everything. If not, then Maldaba's done. Arai is going down, reanimate, but the shield comes up from Vayne. Moonchopper waiting patiently in the corner, skulking really, like the street buster he is, and making sure that he gets his hand on the prize before anyone else. No one steals his stolen goods, and that would be the point that they're looking to grab this next round. 3-3, they tie it up. Splyce and SK now have a chance to battle out one round to see who wins.
This is not an area where you get to see a lot where the economy is just booming with credits. A lot of people are looking at 4 items, both at tier 2, maybe some at tier 1, just trying to get it all around. Specifically, Shady Shades is the one that I think it's kind of been hit or miss. The moments that he is very prevalent, that's where his team is definitely standing up, but you can't let Invocal shoulder it all. Sometimes you can. Sometimes that's going to be enough. But I feel like with Cassie, you always have that consistent damage. It's always going to be there. But he needs to step up just a little bit. I mean, 115,000, that's nothing to scoff at, but he hasn't really been mentioned too much because he's not stepping out.
Haven's invested into for Splyce, making it more difficult for Invocal to continue to carry. 21-13. He ended round 1, 14-7. He slowed down a little bit, but not enough to not be a worry here. Skulking in the shadows. Trying to find the first shot. Headshots as well. And that's what you're looking for. Again, onto Ricotta and Vocal trying to make the big plays. Spray comes out mid-fight, and he ends up taking Ricotta down as well. SK are already 60% on the point, and this is looking bad for Splyce.
When you have Inara and Terminus, it's really hard to get rid of them. You need something like an Evil Mojo, but it's only at 50%, so Splyce don't have much way to get back in here. Vayne looking to try and lead it, but he's already dead before he can get through the door.
They used ultimates last round. There's nothing that they can do to stop what may be an inevitable SK Gaming win, but SK Gaming, they are without ultimates as well. 97%, 99, and 100. SK Gaming grabbed game 1 here over Splyce, and it's no doubt in my mind they had control of that one. Splyce did well to defend at times, but you know, SK Gaming seemed to have the better, just more sustaining lineup with the 2 Stigala and the Grover.
And when it came down to it, that I think is what made the difference, because when it came to most of the fights, it was what's Invocal doing? What's Ricotta doing?
Yeah.
Are they fighting each other? Who gets that first kill? That's going to be the one that gets the leg up. And then where are the remainders? Are the team alive? Did they happen to get some more kills in that fight, or is it just a splash?
Really notable. I mean, we had a Cassie, and Androxa stole the show. And I think that just shows you, man, first pick metas, all that, you can throw that out the window sometimes. If players come to play, they are the ones who make the difference. Let's send it back to the desks to see what happened and break down game 1.
And despite there being some good moments from Ricotta, from Moonchopper, it seemed like Vayne's struggling a bit to hold it down as single front line, too.
Solo Fernando into the axe of Terminus is never fun.
It's not his job.
No.
That is a draft that, you know, Vayne is definitely, he's there. He is a front line, but his team has to win that fight, and then he'll go on the objective. It's not on, that loss is not on him.
Yeah, of course, definitely. But that's the thing. The whole way it was playing out, it just made it so difficult for him then in that struggle capacity. And on the opposite side, when you had Invocal having moments right there in the end, just headshot here and there.
A lot of kills.
22, 23 moments in that game. Incredible performance from him. And that's actually going to be interesting to watch because that could be a very contested pick in the series because we know Ricotta's got one in the tank as well.
I think it's flanks in general when you take a look at it. I know that Invocal is supposed to come in to this roster as being, all right, I'll start to pick up that blaster role. But if he's playing Adroxus like that, let the boy play. He's looking solid today for sure.
I don't know that they'll have a blaster to go to at all
can't
today,
see it.
but I think that's just where their heart lies, is on the hit scan.
There are some messy moments across the board, I feel, that we'll have to see how it plays out in Ascension Peak, which is always exciting.
Oh, yeah.
But even that moment where, if you look at Bitey using the ultimate going into the last round, Shift, don't you think that was a little risky on his part?
Hello? That was a little bit of a hello moment there. I mean, the thing about it was the push was looking good for a moment. You know, you had the whirlwind come out and Grover got everyone back to full. And
It was that like,
yeah, it was one of those moments. It's like, we're so close, we could just put it away now.
and then the coach is like, I'm making a decision.
Putting the foot down.
Executive calls here. and you know, that's really what I think. You know, the Shaolin, that was all well and good for Splyce. But I think another a blaster, you know, a bomb king, even a even Drogos would have been really helpful to dismantle that SK front line from game 1. We'll have to see if that seems to be the style here in game 2. Bip already banned away Brighton early. I wouldn't say he had a resounding impact in game number 1, but
interesting to see Mischief though.
Yeah, it was cool to see that one. That's it's been here or there in the conversation a little bit. Never a mainstay here. It's been mostly, of course, the Mega Push and the Catalyst show. Early sniper pickup for Splyce here. Ricotta looks definitely mechanically tuned in today to be able to play that.
Yeah, well, I mean, his performance at Frog Isle left a little bit to be desired for it, but this is going to be a lot easier lines of sight here on Ascension Peak when it comes to the neutral capture point specifically. That's the thing about this map is it's all angles. The entire map.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this map so far?
It kind of just comes down to, especially when you get to the payload push, you have that palace area that is just, it's all high ground. You need to find somebody to be able to penetrate that if you're looking at Splyce or SK as far as either flank or damage pressure comes or potentially front line. You know, you need to find a way to get up there to get everyone off that line of sight high ground. So Genos and Nara coming out.
It's so hard. It's almost like pushing in on Frozen Guard, right? It's that dichotomy of like if we draft for the like a tight point fight on Frozen Guard, then we really lose our legs in the push, right? It's a struggle to almost get something that's going to be balanced and viable the whole way through. But Splyce look like they're in a good spot to maybe do that.
Well, and we've seen some very interesting flank routes as well in this map. When you're on the defense, you have to be very aware of the ways in which the offense can actually penetrate.
Yeah. It really is a big map. I think
wide.
When you look it down, there's 3. There's like, you know, most callouts have like a main and then there's a couple little flanks, but there are like 3 very defined different tunnels and ways to navigate into the backline. It's tough to kind of keep an eye on all of them.
So with that pressure and Damba getting locked in, we're about to see what the last pick is for Splyce. But what do you think we can expect then from these compositions when clashing from what we've seen so far?
You need another frontliner. You just need some help. Well, maybe not. This is a little confusing for me. I mean, you are going to get more damage pressure here with a Kinessa Cassie just immediately when it comes to being able to poke. So if the Maeve can capitalize on closing in on kills.
But dude, if they couldn't do it on Brightmarsh, think
it's
about
gonna be
the
harder
point
to do
on
it
Ascension
here.
Peak.
Yeah.
I don't want to get the candles out and start doing the diagram again. But you guys, you know the story. This is the hardest point to break in the game. I mean, there's cover on the objective when you've got Terminus and Nora again. You've even got Zin. He can do that thing for a little while up in there. But I mean, SK, another difficult composition to break, and they've doubled down on sustain, it seems.
Yeah, Vayne is going to be back on the Nando, facing off against Terminus and Inara on the opposite end. Let's go ahead and see how it plays out on Ascension Peak.
So they give up Terminus and Nara again. It's kind of a tough spot because you take the Kinessa and you're forcing, obviously, the ability to, because you want her, right? You're banning out the Buck and the Pip. You're letting them ban the Makoa Ruckus. Otherwise, you'll take Makoa. And so you get your Kinessa. But if you take in the 2-3 spot, right, after they take the Genos and something there, if you take the 2-3 spot, your Terminus, you take your Fernando or something of that nature, then you don't get the ability to capitalize on some of the damage dealers like Cassie, which are still available. So I think they're saying lesser of 2 evils and the Street Justice Maeve can compete against the Inara and Terminus when executed properly. So maybe let's just go and try to say, we have the counter. Let's see if we can execute the counter.
And it definitely just feels like a lot of weight on Maeve's shoulders. I'm assuming it's going to be Moonchopper running it.
I assume so.
It does usually run really well, and this is a map where she can perform really well. Again, it's all angles, which is perfect for flanks to be able to kind of dance around, come up, maybe surprise you. But speaking of dancing around, you have 2 incredibly tanky front lines.
Yeah.
And they're going to be hiding behind statues this entire time on a huge point. It's going to be really hard to lock them down there. It feels like SK, again, they do what they did with Brightmarsh, and they just draft for the point.
Yeah, and this is important because early game is where SK have the potential to snowball this fight. Williams got to find kills here. I haven't seen him on the Cassie, admittedly, too much this season. And just in general, I haven't seen him too much in the Cassie. You can expect everyone pretty much at this level knows how to play a very deadly Cassie. But he's got to show up. I mean, this is a big pick that they're counting on. This is what's being the reason they're not getting that frontline pressure the same way as SK Gaming. So it's got to pay off. And so does this Mayfair as they both take the left-hand side. Ricotta forcing himself onto an interesting angle, just avoiding some of the Grover axes. They're all getting low, but Vex with one Blossom at this point is going to heal him right back up.
Good shots being able to at least keep him pinned down a little bit, but again, you can see SK healing up on the point. There are 3 Tiggers right there to make sure that Wi-Fi is staying full health and having no issues, but William 2 kills immediately off the bat, going to be able to find 3-4 as SK just fall.
And that's exactly what they need. This is what this draft is meant to do. It's meant to overwhelm. And when you look at damage compositions and you taking those over SK Gaming's kind of stalwart on the point, let's hold up, that's why they, I think, have been a little behind in the meta this season. It is, yes, players, but it also is the fact that I think they have not, as much as the rest of the Europeans, some of the Americans, really gone heavy into the 3 DPS. This is our belief. This is our mantra. 81% on the objective for Splyce. Things working well. SK Gaming say, well, let us show you why we picked these 2 tanks.
Going to be able to get in and at least zone them down a little bit, and this is like that just essential moment. It always happens on that first point fight, I feel like. When you don't have a full grip, you aren't able to capture it just yet, but at 87, you're kind of comfortable. Give them a little bit of room, come back in. You have the Midnight. You can get a lot of damage. Biting, not sure where he wants to go with this one, but they just fall back, hang out with the Inara.
Oh, and Ricotta, this angle, I love it. There's so much to play. Everyone in the side of SK Gaming is getting grouped up into this little ball, and it is a very dangerous spot when you have a Blast Shot Cassie, when you have a Street Justice Maeve that is not going to miss any of those daggers, and they're also potent. Right now, the Inara Seismic Crash comes through. Can they find the solo front line? If Vayne goes down, that is a problem. Here's William. He gets the big play. Ricotta helps to finish off the Sagala, and now 96% for Splyce, looking to potentially be a first objective capture.
Bitey's swinging as hard as he can, but Arai barely going to get taken down there around the corner. You can see where SK are trying to collapse, keep themselves alive, but they line up. The fireball goes through. Vayne still dies. They still have control. They're still going to get a little bit here, but they are all so low.
And Vocal with an amazing kill on to Ricotta there. And I think Moonchopper, on to Moonchopper, and then Ricotta not wanting to bite off more than he could chew. 66% now for SK Gaming. William, they have a chance to get back, and William's in a perfect spot here. If he can poke out in Vocal, maybe force the Zen Billow early for the remainder of this fight, it's going to be deadly not having him around.
Now getting pushed back, though, William. In a position where he could dash in if he really wants. Bitey's low, but they're not going to be high enough. Coming into a fight where SK have control, that's going to be Moonchopper soon enough. It looks like Vayne will get taken down, but not without getting Bitey and Arai actually coming around the corner, keeping him going.
And I mean, the Moldava, we don't give enough credit for this. On this point, a gourd is one of the best things you can do to force people out of the situation of being comfortable standing on an objective, on a little area, just holding the space into overtime continuously. Still, it goes, and the fight is not decided. That's Street Justice Maeve. That's why they picked her up, ladies and gentlemen. She burst through Terminus like he never had any help before.
Daggers are so good that overtime just bouncing back and forth. Everyone trying to go through. Immortal going to be coming out. Wi-Fi getting low, looking to get chunked down as well. Moonchopper getting a kill there and a nice Dread Serpent.
Double kill for Moonchopper. Trying to find a third, but Vex silences the knives for now. Bitey is back, and this is what we talk about. Ascension Peak, one of the hardest points to break through, but Arai healing up Vayne, and now that spike not going to work against William. He finds the shots this time. Splyce going to let it run through and grab the first objective here on Ascension Peak.
One of the longest overtime fights I think I've seen, being able to kind of go bouncing back and forth. But Splyce coming out on top, comfortable looking as well with the way things have gone. The one thing that I want to say is needing a little bit more pressure from them just to make that a little easier would be Ricotta on this Kinessa. It had good angles, but so far hasn't been blowing me away or blowing any opponents away. These shots every now and then just not connecting when he needs them
to. But you know, I think that's the best part about his Kinessa here. I think it is the angles that he takes. I think you don't have to hit every shot, but the pressure he's applying, the threat of hitting the shots, is what's forcing them into this clumped group. And that is synergizing so well with the Blast Shot Cassie, being able to just get those resets. We haven't seen William kind of hit his form. He still missed a couple of crucial shots there where he had Shady Shades opened up. He could have forced the Genos out of the fight and stopped him from being aggressive. But still, I think overall, this game plan is working. This is where he got a quadra kill last week. I expect him to still perform.
Being able to come around. That's going to be a whirlwind, keeping everyone healed up. And Moonchopper maybe biting off more than he can chew. And this is actually where I feel SK, they expected the Kinessa, and I feel like their draft is very good at fighting away that Kinessa, using the Yomi slices to get towards that back, as well as using those Grover axes, being able to try and keep her pincered down. But I think, like you said, the angles are just different enough that it's kind of a different approach. SK know how to fight the Kinessa, but not quite the same way that it's being played.
And I got to just give a big shout out here. Midnight coming through, but Vayne and Arai, I mean, they have been so stalwart for this team. It is very hard to fight against two Sagala and somehow have the sustain, and I think the Gourd is the big reason why. Big fireball there from Vayne as well, using his time to get great immortals. Can Arai help him out? That wall blocking line of sight. Is the healer going to be able to give him what he needs? Moonchopper finding Vex, and thus, instead of getting the healing, just forces offensive pressure, forcing them away from being offensive on the side of SK, and thus, you don't need to be healed. They're not on you anymore.
Solid daggers that come around, but again, Moonchopper maybe too far without too much sustain coming back in his favor. Keeping Vayne alive has been the main job with his payload. This is one of the maps that's notoriously hard as it is right now. You kind of expect 4 threes for whoever wins, and not being able to get this too far, even with Vayne standing right there, it doesn't look like SK want to give him any more room.
The thing is, SK have a lot of not losing conditions, right? The Terminus, the Inara, the Grover, the Zen. I mean, how much time can all 4 of those buy? But Splyce have a lot of win conditions. William, Ricotta, Moonchopper, they all have a chance to get double, triple kills in these fights and just completely open up a landslide that SK is not prepared for. The thing is, who's going to win here? Offense? Is that going to beat out, or better defense going to beat that? Usually I side with better offense, and the way Splyce is playing early on, forcing Wi-Fi out, all the Grover, the Genos healing as well, this is definitely putting them in a pickle, but it is a long way to go with overtime just beginning.
And with positioning Vayne, he's only going to be able to stay there so long alive. Otherwise, he's going to end up falling down, trying to keep that overtime going. But the longer they're sitting here contesting, the faster that overtime timer is going to tick down when something does eventually go their way. Wi-Fi, Bitey, both dancing over here, staying alive. Pretty tanky, but they haven't been able to make anything burst out just yet.
And if they find Moonchopper here, I think that might be it. The fact that he gets away is great. It gives Ricotta a little bit of room while they're not looking at him. Misses that shot. Invokal's found himself in the back line, and that's it. It's just they've stalled so long. Now Invokal can start to snowball this fight, and that's a big deal for him. To be able to just get into that back line freely without anyone looking at you and then do your Zen thing, I mean, that's what all Zens want to do. They just want to get to the back line and do the Zen thing. Throw the fire, throw the flames, get kills, and call it a day. 45,000 damage in the middle of the pack right now. You see 4 members, and Fernando being the second.
Number 2.
By 17,000, by the way, over Cassie. That says a lot. I don't know of what, Vayne or William, and I think he has been warming up this round. All on Splyce.
I honestly think it's partially Vayne, but I think there's been a lot of stacking up by SK.
There has been.
Fireball has hit 3 people, 4
That's
people,
true.
3 or 4 times in just one round. That normally doesn't happen that many times in a game, so being able to kind of pick this up, he's getting a lot of consequential heal because of their positioning, and I feel like that has been changing a lot of these fights. It's giving them the edge.
Well, we'll see how dull or sharp the edges of Moonchopper's knives are as this Mave heads out to map Ascension Peak. Round number 2. Game number 2 here. Our second set of the day in North America. Fighting for supremacy. Already uses the Immortal on the Seismic Crash. That's a pretty good one, I'd say. I think that trade favors actually the Inara. Forces a big cooldown on the only frontliner. And so Arise got to pay extra special attention to Fernando. They've got to play a lot more cautiously. Invokal gets to the back line, swings through. Dread Serpent from Arai, and they burn him down. Moonchopper finds Vex as well. Great play from Splyce, but they have lost a few, meaning William is out.
Arai was pressured, but not dead, so he keeps Vayne alive, keeps him moving right now. Can't see him, but once the healing comes through, you can see the pressure they have. Moonchopper gets rid of Bitey, and the team moves into this point. It's a very nice area, and they're going to go ahead and bring in some furniture. I think get comfortable for a little bit.
It is. It's a really good area. The property value is going up. I mean, it's a great investment, William. If Ascension Peak.
If you ignore all the fighting.
If you work with Rainer and Rainer Realty, okay, it is going to be a great deal. I can get you a nice little jacuzzi here. In fact, we've had several members of the EU PPL move in. Bonker, on NIP, have you heard of him? He moved into the jacuzzi last week. Yeah, we have another one as well.
Interested to see how that one ends up coming through right now, though. The point, 84-75, SK looking to try and fight their way back into it. And so far doing a pretty good job of it. Bitey trying to lead the way. Doesn't have his reanimate, I think, is the most notable. Because if he goes down, it's going to take a little bit of time to get back in. I
mean, Vayne and Arai, I mean, if I am in Moonchopper, excuse me, not Moonchopper, if I am in Invokal, these are the only two. I really only care about Arai because Arai is the reason Vayne is being enabled to do what he's doing. And Vayne taking full advantage of that healing. He is playing so excellently, treading the line of when he gets low, waiting patiently, not using the shield cooldowns. Does he spot him? Shady Shade's trying to get away, and he will. He almost feds the needle there, Vayne, which would have been a beautiful highlight fireball. But either way, Splyce are going to take this second point. And it's going to be 600 credits to the advantage now over SK.
Vayne has missed the point that Immortal's only the ultimate. It's not actually supposed to be his state of being. As he finally goes down, thanks to Invokal. The damage is good. When they can pincer him, when they can get him alone, it's going to be solid. But again, Arai, 8 streak right now, just showcasing that he's not dying. As long as he's alive, someone on Splyce is getting something done a little bit better.
And I'm gonna nitpick here. I think that was a round you did not have to all reset on. I think Vayne pushed that way harder. They had got it. SK had given it up. They realized, all right, we can't win this one. Vayne doesn't have to go a little farther ahead and die, try to get that extra damage. Just wait, stay alive. That constant pressure is what helps these pushes go through. You find a pick. One, it's Vex, it's Shady, whatever it is. Wi-Fi now getting bursted low. Vayne here trying to get aggressive. And he sees something. Oh, Shady Shades. Nice. Through time and space. Catches him off guard. Vayne barely even sees it. Puts the shield up as a reactionary measure, although it doesn't block the damage. And you know what? That ends up buying time as a few go down on Splyce, and now a third.
Being able to set it up, Vayne again. Because of that damage, because of where he was, it felt like he was caught out. Maybe getting caught up in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Not knowing where he's positioned in comparison to his team seems to be the biggest issue so far. On each of these pushes, he wants to fight. He wants to get in there. And that's great on the point because that is what's winning this for Splyce. But the problem is when they get on this push, you have a defensive team. They want you to come into them. They're just going to chop you apart.
I mean, to be fair, you know, Fernando literally lives with a flamethrower at all times. So
always in the
getting
heat
caught
of the
up in the heat of the moment, I don't blame the guy. It's going to happen here and there. Vayne has the Immortal ready. I mean, that's been a fast-charging Immortal because he's been doing so much damage. And this is probably one of the better Fernando performances we have seen in a long time.
Several fireballs that are hitting 2-3 people, and notably when he hits the 2 Stigalo, and he gets Terminus or Inara with that second hit and just bursts them down a little bit lower. That's kind of the moment I want to see them start pouncing on it. Wi-Fi keeps putting a wall up, falling back, and healing. If they can kill him in that small window, that opens up this push.
And what we're seeing here is the difficulty it is to push. I think what I'm noticing is the lack of Ricotta's impact on finding finishing blows. I mean, where's William? Where's Ricotta on getting finishing blows here? You have to finish someone. This has been 2 minutes of nothing. And despite winning the objectives, you're going to have to show a little bit more gall and gusto against SK. They are just sitting in this room, Grover, Inara, Terminus, and Zen, and saying, okay, you got one shot. You better not miss it. And unfortunately, Splyce are missing that. Finally, the payload starts moving.
And right there, you could see Invocal recognizing, okay, you're going to hold that angle. I can still shoot from here without you seeing me, being able to kind of capitalize on that. Right now, going through, not looking like it's going to be a backdoor. They know he's here, but the damage is good. Immortal's still available. Splyce could try and find this.
I mean, Bitey is just, every single fireball has been blocked by Bitey's Power Siphon right now. What incredible play. And Vayne is just like, man, I had 3 kills on the board. I don't know. Bitey's just been kind of outplaying there and shows you the man with the plan. He's a master of all the champions in the realm and thus knows exactly when those fireballs are up and ready, knows exactly what Vayne wants to do in that situation, in that small corridor, and he's not going to let it happen. Not to his team, says the coach.
The way Vayne's been playing, this is actually something we were talking about on the desk earlier, and if we could, I'd love to be able to kind of glance at what he is running in his loadout, just the cards that he's been able to pick up, because we were saying there are a few of them. Mainly Incinerate and Brand are the ones that were most notably pushed, but Immovable Object has been on the rise, and it's kind of a, I want to say map choice as to which one you really want to invest that 5th point into, but 70% crowd control and slow reduction is incredibly good against an Inara, incredibly good when you have the lineup that SK have, because now all of a sudden you're not getting isolated anywhere near
And he can't afford to be crippled by Vex. He cannot afford to be Void Grip very long. He cannot afford to be Seismic Crashed and stunned out. He needs that extra protection, and that is exactly why he's gone into that in this round against the CC heavy comp. Wi-Fi almost gets bursted down, and that's beautiful. The Brand pops in, forces the Whirlwind because he knows we need a lot of healing because you just got 75% anti-heal on there. Inara, though, with the Earthen Guard, able to shrug it off. There's the Seismic Crash. Goes for Vayne. He's going to pop out quickly, and now pops the Immortal. Saves Moonchopper's life. That's how cards impact the game.
And now being able to move forward the shield. Not going to be able to block that damage. Ricotta gets cut off at his ankles. And now he's going to get pushed away. William with a couple of shots from Bitey. The point is slowly falling in favor of SK. One more swing, and Bitey finds 2.
Bitey swinging through with the Massacre Axe, saying, you know anything about front lines, boy? Let me teach you. Let me teach you. Take him to school, says the coach. And practice is not been let out yet. You may not go home with your parents, and I will hand out the snacks when we are done. And I feel like that referenced a lot of ASO kids' experiences there playing soccer. But either way, it represents SK's dominance here as the point heads over 3-2. They have definitely taken control of this one.
And this is where games start to shift. This is something that you like to point out a lot. When you get that 3rd round capture point, it starts kind of rolling back in your favor. You pick up the momentum that has been lost by both sides of this team, and especially since this is SK's first point to grab, they're feeling a lot better. They're now being able to push up against where Splyce are.
And Splyce have not defended at all in this map. I mean, you saw the defense of round 2. It was better than round 1, I think, for SK. And that's because they had 1 round to do it already. They got the 2nd round plan ready to go. Splyce on the 1st round, but now SK moving with some momentum. The one thing that I think is the saving grace is that Ricotta, why they've invested in this Kinessa so much, and we've seen it in earlier weeks, is that the long lines of sight, as much as it can be difficult to break through this composition, is going to make it very hard for this composition to break through the Kinessa.
Now just trying to dance around. This is actually one of the interesting things I think to note. SK have been taking their fight, or their defense, notably kind of on where, if you had seen it right there, a building that's slightly behind, diagonal from the point, Splyce are fighting on the point. They're still trying to fight a fight that they just lost. They are not successful here, and now you can see SK going in and taking exactly where they've been successful so far.
I mean, Invokel's still the one who's carrying 2 KDA as far as KD, and much more than that when you add the assist on the table. Everyone on Splyce is actually, except William, negative here. That's a big problem. You have 3 damage carries, you have 3 win conditions, and none of them are winning. Bitey finds 1 kill, Wi-Fi finds another, 2 front lines taking down your 2 DPS, and now you've only got a few members left, a sniper, a healer, and Fernando. Can they pull it together? It's becoming judgment time.
Bitey, with this reanimate, I think this is the best position for him to be the one pushing it forward. He goes down, it's not the end of the world. 45 seconds left, he has plenty of time for things to go his way. Nice through time and space, not gonna connect, but forces Vayne maybe into a spot he didn't want to be in.
And you gotta say, Ricotta, lucky to not get hit by that one either, because he literally is not looking at all. And I think just by the luck, the grace of the gods, does not get taken down there. Seismic crash. Wi-Fi, can he get bursted out before? No, he finds the kill! Onto William. 500 damage is enough to put Cassie back to base and center to spectator. Shady Shades finds it, and the Dread Serpent not enough to get Terminus's thick body away from the point. That boot, I think he pushed it in with his butt cheek. He was just, and his butt cheek rounded it out.
Just inside that.
Was in the contest range and moved it all the way in. Man, I'll tell you, that's why you do squats.
And when it comes down to it, it helps. You know, he's bigger. He can't run that fast as it comes down to it. He's a rock for one.
I'm telling you.
You could see Inara hightailing it out of there, but he's just like, well, Dread Serpent, I guess I'll take 2 steps that way and push it in anyway.
It's hard to lift that Masker Axe. I get it. You need the core to be strong. Let's send it back to the desk to break down game number 2 here.
I guess he's just gains goals.
Well, if you're going to backdoor a payload, you might as well do it with your butt cheeks.
Yeah.
It's only fair, really.
Be really true to the phrase in that sense.
Call it like it is, you know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But Ascension Peak, its evolution as we've seen it, when we first saw it actually over in the PGS, and it was a double backdoor in a 4-0 that resulted in one. So it's kind of a funny callback in that way, just from our experience. But very much sticking with a theme of extended capture. Going to be a very long one. That first one was about 4 minutes and 20 seconds, actually.
That's wild.
But
such a long capture point, but there's a trend there. It feels like more of a superstitious than an actual thing you can back up, but like when you finally get put on that offense, like team has to shift gears to be defending. There's a little bit of that, plus SK looked like they had a much more defined plan about what they wanted to do on offense.
And I think when it comes down to it, when you put a Terminus and Inara pushing forward together, I mean, we saw it in that last push. They were able to just roll right up that high ground, push everyone out of Palace, came right back down.
With that Grover call. Yeah. I think it's called Heavenly Agility, but movement speed after the heal, you saw Terminus and Inara were marching, cruising through Palace.
And that's really big when it comes to displacing your opponents. I mean, when there are 2 of them running right at you, it's really hard.
You don't have time to think of a plan.
You just go. You just have to bail. You have to bail out completely. So that was definitely the key to success in that last push. I mean, it looked so tight, back and forth, and then SK just gets on their horses. And
I will say, it was kind of lucky that Ricotta did stay alive there. Shady Shades was blasting him all game with that through time and space. But it's so easy when you're tunnel visioned in your scope, you can't like even see the VFX that have completely enveloped you, and you're just like, happily sniping away, and then you evaporate. But he was doing a great job with that. A nice little flex there from Shady Shades to be able to play the Genos.
Yep. So now for game 3, we're going over to Stone Keep, which is a very different feel from Ascension Peak, but nonetheless.
I always have a blast watching Ascension Peak, though. I gotta say, it's been a lot of fun to watch that.
It's a lot of hotness. There's not a lot of cool in that map. Every single moment of the game has some kind of action going on. You don't get that. Okay, we're both just gonna kind of bail out.
It's not that like Fish Market thing.
Exactly.
Where it's like
Fish Market is the one I was thinking of.
And I think that's cool because that was a big like feedback point about maps in general, and I think that's why we see like look at Splitstone, look at Ascension Peak now, look at these newer maps. The level designers have definitely taken that to heart, and some of those older school maps, they have those real hurry up and wait moments where there's just nothing, there's nowhere really to fight around it for the defenders, and they have to fall back.
And that's the thing. You would think a map that so often goes to 4-3, 4-2, whatever it may be, and so long would get a little stale on our end to think, okay, it's just because of those situations where they're waiting for their opportune moment. But as you said, it's just always hot. There's always something happening within the team fight. But
and though that Ascension Peak, that base is really good to fight out of, but at the same time, the capture point is a little bit down there. So it's like when the Inara or when your frontliner snap dies like it happened, it wasn't exactly a backdoor, but it definitely slid through when they weren't prepared for it.
Yeah, you really have to commit to where your defense is going to be. It's not like it is, for instance, on maps like frozen guard, or even here where you can just kind of sit up in those ramparts and just kind of fire down and be like, all right, we can still kind of toggle. You have to commit to get in that low ground. So now that you take a look, I mean, again, Splyce has tried the solo Fernando a couple of times now and has not really worked yet. Do you, at this point, go to a double? I mean, there's not a lot really there to
probably
go between.
not because of just what's banned out. And they banned the Terminus here, and another great front line. Ashe, not super popular pick for either of these teams anymore. They both definitely have players that can play it. SK obviously showing that they're going to go to the Torvald here. Splyce, if they haven't run it to this point, I don't think that they're going to switch gears now.
Ben Torvald definitely fallen out of favor within these past few weeks, but once in a while it does come through. And there's that one particular spot in this map where it can be really advantageous, but pip combination too. And Barrick, first appearance of the day.
I like it.
So they bring it out.
Now, what have your thoughts been on Barrick kind of coming back into things?
You know, it's funny because when the game first came out, I almost exclusively played Barrick. I love Barrick to death. And this is a roster. Don't scoff at me, first of all. Don't scoff at me. Barrick and this.
He had a skill shot back then. You know, he actually had to hit his shots on his weapon.
That's the ultimate pretty hair repellent.
But the key of Barrick here is if he could get himself set up, whether it's in the keep, in the church, or on point, he's going to have a very nice time to kind of camp out and make sure he's getting some good damage put down while also providing some peel for the Fernando, who has had a tough time so far. But the Bomb King coming out makes life tough for both frontliners.
Yeah, definitely does, and Torvald is definitely a really, really scary combination to run with that bad boy.
So Splyce switching things up a bit in this draft, same with SK. So let's see how things shake out in game number 3. Is it the last one? Let's find out.
You know, the Barrick is interesting, and I got to say, when I first started casting with Vox back at my home in California, I was casting a lot of Barrick as well, and he had a really interesting mechanic. He would actually be the only guy, because his damage was, I think, exactly at 350, and Blast Shields and Haven were like, if you do more than 350, mitigate that type of damage, so high burst damage. If you do less than 350 per tick, like a Fernando or something, mitigate that. And he couldn't get mitigated by anything. So Barrick's been OP from the beginning. He was like right in the middle, and it was either below or high, so you're like, I can't build against this guy. Barrick and Grok, man. Those two. Whew, don't get me started. I'm glad we're out of that meta now and into this one.
And I kind of want to say, I mean, even being able to bring him in, this is the perfect thing for Splyce to fight what we have been seeing SK do. They just keep getting on the point and then not giving it up.
Yeah.
Hair Trigger Barrick, I'm just going to shoot you until you are dead as fast as I can. It's a shotgun, so it hurts a little harder. And this is usually a map I kind of want to give over to Splyce. This is one that they're very, very good with.
Yeah.
But with the way that SK drafted, it's going to be a very tough fight.
I feel that SK are really good at these, you know, these double front lines, and it is core to them, right? And they've got, if you look at the core of Wi-Fi, Shades, Vex, Bitey, right, and even in Vocal, like miles beyond in terms of experience, and one could make an argument, even for skill as far as players because of the experience, right, over the guys of Splyce. Now, potential, Splyce, they're there. They can be as good as this, and probably will be if they continue this direction. But right now, SK Gaming may be running a draft that wouldn't work in the EU, wouldn't work in top tier games, and it hasn't in the NA. But against Moonchopper and Splyce and this squad, it's just back to their roots. And so they're feeling very comfortable with it, and no one's forcing them out of that comfort zone well enough as Vex finds an early kill on the William.
Now looking to be able to burst down their shields and burst down some health bars as well. A couple more shots is all they need, and that's exactly the fight that SK really want. This Bomb King in Vocal tearing through Splyce.
There's not much to analyze here either. I mean, that was just a stomp. And I think part of it is that Wi-Fi has gotten into our every game so comfortable. The healing sponge, as I like to call her, has just been soaking it all up. And he's been very good at his placement, but in Vocal, his ability to not only carry these games on Zen, on Androxus, and now on Bomb King, Splyce don't have someone who's performing that level. That's the big separation point.
And that first game, when it was as close as it was, they have Ricotta. They have someone stepping up that's not quite matching in Vocal, but someone that's still in the conversation with him. Right now, we haven't seen that. Ricotta finally going to be able to kind of hit some of these shots, making a big difference now back onto the Shaolin. But so far, it hasn't been anything stand out.
96% here on the objective for SK Gaming. I think I heard a planted somewhere in the background. 69%. Splyce will make it out alive with their Shaolin and continue to zone. Barrick getting set up. That's always where you want your Barrick. And they find a kill onto Vex, so this could change things here. William aggressing, gets the bowling ball, throws the shield up. Still a precarious situation. 96% still for SK if they want to step on the point.
Looking to be knocked back, that wall being good, at least to cause a little bit of distance between them. Splyce going to be able to push back Wi-Fi. No one's going to touch down, and they take that away, even after a thorough handling, I would say, at the beginning of the map.
And I think this is just a patient play, and I think this is just a good zone, right? You see it coming through. And Vex, one of the other people who I would say talk about great pips, one of those in the conversation. I think you can look at a mentor / some guy who came up right after Cuss Cutie as far as the conversation when SK and Cuss, obviously he kind of took that healer role, that main spot going to SK. He used to be a sub for G2 and was with them at DreamHack Valencia. And now has kind of come into his own. And I think his pip, you see that he plays it just as good or better. And now Ricotta here looking to finish off Vex again as Splyce, despite all that history, say, you know, Raiden, we're not out of this yet.
Nice shot coming through. The problem I've been noticing is that a lot of these fights, when they do take them, when Splyce are pulling themselves ahead, you can see Ricotta, nice open area, not really anywhere for them to hide away from his shots, being able to find them, no problem then. A lot of the fights they're losing is where Invocal's going to shine. They fight where Bomb King is going to have a little bit more. Everyone's clustered together. You're all right next to each other. This bomb's hitting 3 people at once. Now looks like a King Bomb's going to be running through.
Listen. Let me get that explosion. Yeah. And the Bomb King love track sounds. And, well, a new thing is made. It is not a new life being. It is actually just a new KDA and adding to the Ks for Invocal. And he looks to have 3 and 2 right now. He had a great start. Shady Shades as well, 3 and 1 on the Cassie. Ricotta really the only one carrying a lot of that positive weight in terms of trading on the Shaolin.
I know this wouldn't be the case, but I like to think that Vex right there was like, I'm just going to let you sweat a little bit, sitting at that 130 health.
Yeah.
And here's 2,000 your way. Here you go. Go ahead
Go
and
ahead, sweat a little bit for me, baby. Oh, there's a heal.
Seconds remaining.
That's how the conversation went in comms. I'm pretty sure.
No, actually,
that was actually footage.
100%.
That was audio from comms. I didn't say anything during that point.
It was very surprising you would actually not maybe recognize some of the voices of the players there, but
yeah, I
really getting into it. They like to role play.
Kind of sound like me.
Skins.
It was weird. Vex had like a low baritone, like Barry White voice for a second.
It's just like, what that Bomb King skin does to you.
Damn, guys. All right.
When you're around it,
voice acting could be your thing.
Everything.
Yeah. Nice Poppy Bomb, just throwing William off a little bit. He's got a grumpy. Defense successful. SK, I don't know if they sweated that round too much. They lost the point, but it felt very like, guys, let's back off. We lost it. Not sacrifice anything. We don't want to get staggered here. And let's just defend. And that's kind of how it went. They did use a King Bomb for it, but it's already back charged up to 70%. And now all ultimates on the table. What do you got going into this round, Gore?
I mean, mainly looking at where they fought last time. Splyce, I think, need to adapt that initial engagement. Maybe do not go into the high ground. Don't go where Invocal's going to be able to shine. Just because even at 70%, he doesn't have the King Bomb, but he's still going to be potent in all of that. And just because of the damage, the shielding as well from Bitey, keeping everyone alive, SK, even in a closed space, are going to have an advantage. Try to flank around, keep it open. Maybe just try to plant yourselves on the point. It's really difficult on this map to figure out how you want to switch it up.
I don't know. It's a nice evil mojo there coming through from Vex, but it doesn't find much. Vayne must be running that crowd control reduction card and gets out of it very quickly. Seems like the 2-second minimum duration. There's a Dread Serpent as well. Vayne getting low, drops the shield. Wi-Fi says, I don't care. I'm about to seismic crash that. And he ends up turning it over into the corner. Ricotta finding a trade. Invocal finishing off Moonchopper, not letting him finish the conversation. And then the Dome Shield coming through. It's another King Bomb opportunity if he wants to chase this, but SK have kind of already forced Splyce into a bad spot.
And it really feels as though Splyce didn't know
what
how exactly they wanted to go into this fight. The shield's going down. Wi-Fi gets rid of William.
Shocking.
And you can see just all spread around, and Vocal getting another one, chasing him down, keeping himself up in the races.
His lap time right now is really strong. I think he passed my my Cooper test I had to run at UCLA every year. 2 miles in under 12 minutes. It's the worst thing to train for. But here we go again. You want a King Bomb? I'll show you a little thing about exploding. Maybe, oh God, oh no, 88 health. And now he gets healed right back up, luckily. Cauterize comes through, dies midair. You know, guys have always had failed attempts, and that just ends up one. Don't worry about it. Get back out there, Cougar.
Happens to everybody as he goes forward, going to get aggressive now, trying to fight Vayne, looking to get that same aggression that he had in that last game, but so far it hasn't quite found the same success. And I think that is partially map, partially SK being able to adapt to it. They know what he's looking for now, and they're not giving it up to him easily. Splyce, 60%, but they are in control.
And I like this too. 69% would have been a good time for that King Bomb to go off. Vayne having
it
a
really
two-streak.
did feel like you wanted it just for the
He
music
did.
there.
Oh, yeah. Let me show you a little bit about this music here. Let me set the tone. Let me set the mood. And continuing to set the mood, though, Splyce really not giving up without a fantastic fight here. SK Gaming and them neck and neck despite SK grabbing the first couple of games. William, though, and Ricotta falling, and now this could be a snowball. And Vocal has the shock and awe, the movement speed, the Torvald bubble. What a stun! Arai shuts that down, and now maybe a conversation can continue here for Vex. Oh, but he finds a double kill, and he says, no, SK, we're taking this point. And they go ahead 2-1 here in round 2.
Now going to be able to get aggressive, and you can actually see, because they won that fight and the way they won it, Splyce are really kind of sporadically placed. They don't really seem to have any initial or any core to their team right there. So no strong defense. They're trying to figure out how do we go up against this, the way things have been going. And very specifically, again, I want to highlight Bitey with these shields, being able to keep his team in it. There's certain moments where, you know, Arai finds a stun that eats through the shield and the kill comes through anyway. But so many times where that shield just saves someone like Invocal and keeps them in the fight much longer than Splyce can prepare for.
Torvald saves lives. That's always been my mantra with this guy. And Bitey is one of those that I gotta praise for his innovation, his commitment to do things that are kind of off the cuff. And we talked about the Vivians, but I think in many ways in North America and even in Europe, Torvald is just as rare at times because people, they've forgotten how to play with them. They don't prioritize him anymore. There are other things they feel are better. And, you know, he has his very apparent weaknesses as that fireball hits and a double come through from Moonchopper. But Bitey is still consistent and willing to play and put his team in those positions to win the way he thinks they can. And it's working so far.
Billo going to come through just to retreat, but I believe that was exactly what they wanted. The pressure, the kills, and then just a little bit of hint to saying, look, SK, like, you can't just push this forward. We're not going to roll over for you. This game, both times in the last 2 maps has been incredibly close. A minute left, so SK could approach this. They have all of their ults available if they do really want to step on that pedal.
Can we see some healing here, by the way? Because Inara has not died. 120,000 healing on this Mega Potion Pip. And I mean, I told you, this is definitely due to Wi-Fi, but this is definitely also due to Vex. When you talk about pulling it off, he's one of the best. Is he going to make that?
No.
In Vocal. He tried. That was the dream right there. I was like, man, I didn't know that was a route. Wait,
maybe
that's not a route.
A little bit more.
That's like that clip with The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson
and
when they jump off the building.
A little bit more air control.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more
I don't
height.
think he quite went to where he needed to go.
Do you know that movie, though, that I'm talking about, where he jumps off the building and he says, aim for the trees or something like that, aim for the bushes? And it's like, there goes my hero. It's this superhero jump. And then it turns out to be this huge, the other guys. And then it's this huge plot point where literally they jump off and they both die. Like, they just literally splat on the ground. And it's like, well, we need 2 new detectives. How about you guys? And that's where the movie begins. And Vocal finding a double. Triple. Shotgun. Oh, is he going to find a quadra kill here? And he does. Caliente.
Spicy. Although, maybe against what you're hearing, Vayne was the last one to die. Fernando not living through it. Gonna be able to respawn. Dread Serpent coming through. Overtime is the big point for it. Hyper Beam, though, gonna be able to push some away. Not finding as much as I think Bitey would want there. And now Splyce still alive, still going, and getting a lot of separation.
Oh, gets taken down as well. No one can win here. Remember, it's gonna be a 2-2 if they can hold, but they're using everything in the tank to try to hold this massacre, which seems to be what SK Gaming are absolutely loving. King Bomb can't take time for the music here. Double kill for Invocal. Try to make it a triple kill. Nope. Not this time. JD Shade steals it. And, you know, we can't go Caliente again. But sometimes you have to honor the moment in different ways, William.
Yeah.
Honor different cultures in your casting.
It was nice.
Yeah.
It felt different, and it was unique.
I'm actually referencing Coco. Have you heard that song? Un poco loco?
Yeah.
Un poquitito loco. Oh, the way he starts that song, it's amazing. It's a little like lion yell from this kid. It's wonderful. And here's that beautiful play from Invocal. Quadra kill, and it's the shock and awe, really. This movement is allowing him so much flexibility. And you talk about Bomb King, who is this snowball character. It's a great card for him.
And just being able to go back to it the way, I think it's been adapted. It's one of those things that the players that are playing it in the compositions on the maps that they do, you get someone like Invocal, you know they're going to be able to follow up. They get that kill, they're going to use that speed to keep going. And like you had said earlier, now he's racing around the track a lot faster than a lot of the other members.
Yeah.
And Splyce can't run away from him.
I'm telling you, he's joining a track team after this as well. He's all over the place.
Olympics.
Yeah, going to the Olympics. Just wants to meet a lot of people, have a lot of great experiences. This King Bomb is trying to be human. And he may not be passing for some people, but he's doing his best. Wi-Fi here sitting on the point. Wi-Fi, up until that last round, was yet to die. And it was, again, a testament to him and Vex's synergy here. Shady Shades being a good bodyguard in many ways, waiting for Splyce to attack and then just saying, all right, give me what you got. This is a dead Moonchopper if I've ever seen one.
One shot, actually misses the first one, follows it up closely afterward, and maybe a little bit closer than he would like. And Shady Shades has been this member that, when you go back to Season 1, you look at Renegades, he was the standout member, but I think that was because at the time the team didn't quite have anything to step up to his level. Here, when you're up with a bunch of people like SK that are very, very good at this game, maybe back with some of the members as well, some being able to play with Bitey, you haven't seen his name as much, and Vocal definitely stealing the show from everybody, but he's still present. That damage is still prevalent in the fight.
Definitely here. King Bomb ready to go, throws it down on the ground, and at this point, might get a stun. Not going to find the shield. Vayne did have that ready to go, but he's going to get deleted here. Still not running the solo front line anymore, so it's not all up to him. William355 can touch the point here. He's also got a dome shield, so that's going to be huge to buy time. But without Arai, what will it mean? Arai's still here because Ricotta comes in and slices down the King. Will this change things for Splyce? Can they take the lead?
Now holding onto it, Dome Shield gonna expire. 96 stop for SK. 66, there's gonna be the seismic crash. Not finding anyone,
Counter.
Not gonna hit with anything. And now with the way it's going, that's the aggression. Moonchopper gets Bitey, and that is no shielding available for SK.
That was huge. Moonchopper counters that, and I don't know if it's intentional. He might have been fighting Bitey in the corner and tried to counter Bitey, but that does not stun him, and that may have been the changing moment in this fight. King Bomb here rolling for Invocal, though. We can't hear the music, but he is waiting to turn this party up, and he finds one kill. Hyper Beam from Bitey. The Grumpy Bomb is there. And Vocal, what do you got, bro? What do you got? He's still fighting, still moving. Shock and awe. Can it be enough? No. Moonchopper finds the double. Bitey looks like he is falling, but he's got a shield. A triple kill for Moon, and he's going to chop up the last one. Vex falls, and the Billow just for the BM.
Gets out not only alive, but the sole reason at the tail end of it that his team is able to fight back.
And pushing the objective, what doesn't this guy do?
With the way
he cooks, he cleans.
That win. SK, there were so many small things there that should have given them just enough. Overtime definitely paying a little bit towards Splyce there since it lasted so long, but they played it perfectly to make sure that came through.
I don't even think it's a lot of things. It's literally Moonchopper dies if he doesn't counter the seismic crash. He does counter it. He lives and gets a triple kill. I think that's the biggest form of cause and effect we could have ever seen. And those are the little plays. That determines it all. And I'm going to give Moonchopper the credit. Obviously, you hear that sound cue. Obviously, you are at very low health. And if you have your counter available, you throw that up. I'm going to give him all credit in the world and say he probably countered that, and it just ended up working out. He had the right angle to not only survive from Bitey's attempts at attacking him, but also the seismic crash coming from Wi-Fi. So, yeah.
They're fighting against, and what was notable, for SK, especially now since they're on the defense, they're finally charging up. You can see their ult's about to tick through. They use everything they had in their arsenal trying to fight against that, and at the end of the day, they didn't have enough follow-up from it. Seismic Crash didn't connect with anybody because of the counter. You have the Hyper Beam come through, but it doesn't really push anyone anywhere other than just a couple feet back.
Yeah.
And I don't know where exactly the King Bomb was going, but it didn't seem to quite find the home it was looking for.
The King Bomb was the one, right? If those had all been used at the same time, different. But at that point, Splyce had already had control. And there's this kind of fight that goes on without us knowing the differences. It can look like there are 3 people fighting on each team, but when you're playing, okay, we have kind of lost control at this point. We're now reaching for it, and all of those ults were reaching ults. And so nobody really had a clear plan. They were hoping for the best there, not expecting it. Full heal there onto Wi-Fi in the corners. William355 and Moonchopper look to push the left-hand side of this. 28 seconds now, and a Dread Serpent gets popped. Can he find it with the planet? Nope. Invocal looking for him. Misses the shot. Ricotta's still alive, though. Oh, no! Invocal comes back and ends it. That could have been the difference maker as well.
Not quite able to find the hits he need. Vayne, Ricotta both getting taken down, and Vocal's on a rampage. Another double kill as he's just going to be running straight at them so fast. And now, actually, I love this, using the movement speed to get a little bit more defensive.
Yeah,
go ahead and go get that zone. You're going to be able to get there fast so you can stop them from running on that mount anytime.
133,000 damage dealt. And you got to say, I mean, we haven't seen really great play from the blaster side of Splyce. And it's 3-3. You know, if they lose here, set over. I'm not on the desk, so I can't bring this up. So I'll bring it up now. I think Splyce moving forward want to work on their blaster play. You want to have the ability to bring in a Bomb King that's as deadly as Invocal. And let's talk about Invocal. What a guy to get out of the team 1 week, come back into this team, and have this type of a performance. Maybe it says something that, you know, there's no pressure on them right now. But it also says something that the guy is performing. Given the chance, he's performing. I mean, beautiful Poppy Bomb. His movements are very clean. Getting back up, no wasted effort. That's a great player right there.
And again, I think it's worth noting, they do still get a land. It's not exactly the land I think they would have wanted at the beginning of the season.
Still 100K on the line for it.
But it's still a lot of money and a land chance. So this is the time to get that practice in, and you can see that I feel like SK have stepped up from what we saw last week. It is a much different story than where they were going, and just immediately Moonchopper, he knows the threat.
Oh, man.
And Invocal is getting onto him.
And Moonchopper's like, I'm going to ult you? Okay, no, I'm not going to ult you. And that's just the presence of Moonchopper. Excuse me, of Invocal. 27% now for Splyce, but they all back off, but they don't lose anyone, which is important. Still, the zone comes through. Bitey here behind enemy lines. Going back to the point, Vayne contests them there. Vex is here for the heals onto the front lines. Gets Inara focused down first, 30% still, and there's a Hyper Beam.
Now just trying to push him away, but keeps him up against the wall. The shots are really what they're trying to find. And it's kind of a spread out fight. SK know you can be a little patient with it. You don't have to pull it all in all at once. As you can go around it. I'm waiting to see how they come through, and that's going to be it. The King Bomb, the key to really blow this one up.
Yeah, and he finds a Rai as well. That's the sweetest, most sultry sound he could have heard. An actual kill going his way, but Ricotta midair slices him down yet again. And it could be Moonchopper who now capitalizes off of this. You know that Vex has got the heals for Bitey, so what do you go for? The man giving everybody the shields or the man keeping Inara alive? He's going for the shields, and he finds it. Our Splyce gonna keep this one going. It's really up to if they can find Wi-Fi soon enough.
The wall just eating all of this damage, and still the healing coming down. Shady Shades
counter.
needs to step up for the counter. Billow going to be coming through instead, just trying to block the stun. There's going to be the Evil Mojo, but they don't find the kill. Shady Shades, though, picks up 2.
But Arai finds Wi-Fi, and here's Moonchopper finding Shady Shades and Vocal. What's going to happen here? Vex 30 bouncing around like the Vulpine that he is and trading out Bitey and Vex, the last men standing, and they end up taking control back. They're still 63% on the objective, though. What a smorgasbord that was.
And this is where things get really awkward for SK. You can't leave the point. You cannot step off of it. You have to fight someone.
Dread Serpent.
Wi-Fi has to be there. They almost get rid of it, but it's not enough. 90 to 99.
Oh, he couldn't get the dome shield. He had 83%. Needed a few more shots to do it. No more ults now, and this is where Splyce are reaching. They've downed one frontliner, and it's Inara and Torvald on the objective. Shady Shades trying to find a kill. He finds Arai. Bitey with the double. Can Bitey find the triple? Shades will get in on that one, and SK Gaming clean sweep Splyce heading in to Vegas.
And that last play, everything that just happened in that last point, I want to say after 3 games essentially of Shady Shades not really having anything that was the jump out, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
That was his moment, and that is what I think really opened that up. Finding those 2 kills right when he did opened up the contest.
Well, it was a great game, a great contest. We've talked all about it, so let's send it back to the desk to break down set 2 of our day.
That may have been a sweep in favor of SK Gaming, but boy, was that grindy.
That Grumpy Bomb at the end was so
was lucky.
clutch.
I mean, stunning out 2 people like that, unfortunate.
And Arai falls just before that, so you're not hitting with the support there. It's just, the Splyce is a good, you know, it hurts to not come off this season with a win in the split, but they're in a really good spot moving forward for the summer. I'm really excited to see this 5-man roster hopefully stay the same, and then continue to just grow from here on out, because they have a lot of really good stuff going for them.
Yeah, it's about coming together. I think, again, nobody really showing any mechanical issues, no champion pool issues necessarily. I think a little bit more blaster play wouldn't hurt them, just to have that option there. SK don't go to it all set, but they bring it out in game number 3, and boy, did it take off running.
Yeah, taking a look at Invocal and just the way that he showed out in that last game on this Bomb King, getting some superb streaks, and in game number 1 on the Androxus with Brightmarsh as well was having a heavy impact.
A heavy impact, carrying the load throughout the first half. I think it was, right at halftime through 2 rounds that you saw him was the only one with above 3 killing blows.
It was funny, yeah.
Like
he was like 14 and something, and then everyone else was like 1 and 5 or 1 and 6 on SK. But yeah, he went beast mode with the Andro, and that's really the only way you can get away with Androxus nowadays. Like, you have to just be disgusting with that character to pull it off at this level. and this Bomb King play. I like the style of the shock and awe and the Royal Decree, the reload speed, the movement speed, combined with the Tora ball. It's like this snowball that just gets and turns into this massive, just unstoppable force.
Looking like Barry Allen out there, the Flash, running through people.
Yeah, we missed him last week, and he came back just full of power. And while the Grumpy Bomb there at the end was very impactful, there were other moments you look at when Splyce was looking to close the game, and they were going for that push, and then Invocal just managed to obliterate that with a sequence of kills.
It's crazy, man. And again, Splyce looking better and better. Those were all 4 threes, though this set goes down in history as a 3-0. I think they played really, really great. I think SK, they came out swinging today as well, and it was almost a question of, whatever reason Invocal wasn't with us last week, he comes out, has this type of performance. SK, they're a team I think I see definitely bouncing back in the offseason.
Yeah, that's definitely a matchup that takes away some of the doubt. A lot of people sitting out there saying, is SK potentially the worst team this spring?
Yeah.
I think with that performance there, through and through, from every single point of that whole faceted team, is just, no, they're not the worst team here. They definitely have room to go, but they're doing these things. They're doing the right things. It just comes down to finding that little bit of magic against these really just, again, nearly flawless rosters in NA.
Yep, the PPL has been very tight within both of the regions as far as mechanical ability goes, and it just comes to some of the strategies pushing forward, making that adaptation. And it was mentioned by the casters. We've mentioned it during previous weeks of the PPL. The blaster play in NA just has been in a whole different capacity compared to other regions. So, Shift, what do you think are the things to keep in mind for some of those bottom teams within the standing so far?
The big thing that hits me first is when you talk to the people who have been in this game the longest, whether it be from NIP or be from G2 or from any of those other, storied teams, it's we play everything. You look at these newer players coming to the PPL, you look at even Invocal, who has some experience but is still learning, all of the different variety of damage dealers, let alone all the characters in general. That's the big thing for me, especially when you look at like a Rakata Moonchopper. Can they get off of their normal flank picks? Can they find something else to really be a big value when it comes to consistent damage dealers?
Yeah, when you've got these international lands coming up, looking at Europe, if they're able to get those like 10th pick Bomb Kings for Fasheko or their Eevee, it's a loss for whoever they're going against. I think Europe will have an easier time flexing onto like that solo heal Grover or the solo heal Pip, and then North America will be transitioning to having that impactful blaster play that Europe can bring.
So the first LAN that's coming up is the one in Las Vegas, and SK Gaming will be there. So a little less pressure today as far as standings within the PPL, but they still have that pressure coming up. So Pretty Hair, looking at their performances so far, how do you expect them going into Las Vegas?
I mean, the performance and that set against G2 last week, I was like, all right, they're going to be good. I think they're going to be fine here. That was maybe it's a little bit of that like kryptonite because those two teams go back so far, and it's one of those weird matchups that G2 has no business going as deep in as they had to go to beat SK. But at the same time, I think SKR team, they've got plenty of time to work together when they can come together as a team. Because granted, Invocal, Shady, still new to this roster. You have to remember, there is history there with Shady, of course, but this 5-man roster was not a thing in Season 1, and there is still some room to grow and improve.
Well, coming off of that victory, 3-0 against Splyce, we do have an interview with Bitey from SK Gaming. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey guys, Rain Day here, back with the illustrious, the renowned Coach Bitey. Bitey, how are you doing, man?
Well, doing pretty good. We didn't end last.
You didn't end last?
Yeah, that was the goal. Because the rest of the season's been pretty rough. So
who would have thought that would be the conversation we'd be having here at the end of this? We didn't end last, and I think that leads me to my point. I just want to know, how are you feeling? How's the morale of the team today after your results?
Relieved. Like, you don't want to be the one at the bottom of the bowl. So, like, it's been a hard 5 weeks. This week, I actually sat out some of our games and just started watching and doing, like, actual coaching of the squad. And I think that's where we've kind of had this turnaround. You don't get to see it really in, like, this last week here of the improvement that we've really been putting in. I even pulled back on streaming just to start focusing even more on, like, fixing what, at least when I watched our games on Wednesday, what our issues are. And the practice of the unit, leading up to this Sunday has been going really well. Finally starting to trade how we want to. And yeah, it's been a really tough but I think we're finally starting to get the pieces where we want to have them.
Well, that sounds great to hear, man. I'm glad you started putting that effort in. I know that it's tough to be in a spot like this and not necessarily know where the next step is. Obviously, you have the Vegas tournament approaching, and that is a big deal. And I guess maybe what you probably are looking forwards to in terms of that's the lane you'll be competing at, PPL land out of your reach right now. So how has that preparation for Vegas kind of shifted the mentality with the guys?
Well, I mean, it was pretty much for today and kind of leading up to this. Really, it's prepare for the next major event. You know, you're already out of the running here, and this was a pretty sad season, but working on it, you know, getting through your issues and figuring out how we want to play as a unit, which I think we're finally starting to have pieces for, and being happy with our results in practice. I think going into the Vegas event's going to be looking pretty well.
Well, that'll be exciting. I'm sure everyone's going to be happy in Vegas. It'll be a good environment. We'll all be there to connect and kind of talk about this season, throw it in the bag, so to speak, and obviously moving on to the next events, the next season coming up. Still a lot more Paladins to play this year. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Invocal, though. I do want to ask you some questions, and just one question on him. He had a stellar performance today. I mean, he was by and large the big carry king against anybody that Splyce could perform and put to the test for him. How do you feel just about how Invocal played, and any other thoughts you have about him?
I mean, he's come a long way. You know, I mean, he's got all of the talent and all of the potential. It's just when you have, I mean, he's 15, 16, 14 now. I can't remember if he's had a birthday yet, but you need to hone it with experience and mentorship to make sure that you're always making the best possible play in every situation. And because there's a little bit of an experience gap, it takes that extra focus of like, okay, you got openings here, you got openings there, and hey, this is how you play around. And the truth was, we sat him out last week, and that like lit a fire on him to train harder, play better, and kind of take that next step. You know, we've been doing 2-hour sessions, training with each other every day now, and I think it's been showing a lot of improvement overall.
It certainly has. And we all know that that young talent is really supposed to be kind of honed by that mentor. We see it in fantasy novels. We've seen it in basketball, my favorite sport. Kobe Bryant came in, a young buck. He'd take every three-pointer that was given to him. Never met a shot he didn't like. And Phil Jackson really coming in with the mentorship from coaching Michael Jordan all that time really helped Kobe grow into, you know, that great player. So you could be his Phil Jackson, buddy. You and your doggo.
Yeah, Phil Jackson. Yeah, I know that guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Great bag, both coaches, tell you what.
Yeah, he's a dog lover too, man. So thanks, Spidey, for joining us here on the day of the PPL, the final day of the season. Great to talk to you, and we'll be seeing you in Vegas. So take care, buddy. We'll see you then.
Yeah, thank you.
I believe his name is Cheerborker. Is it the
one of many Cheerborkers?
Yeah, how blessed we are to have Buddy in Paladins.
Yes,
It's
he and his
never a dull
slew
moment.
of doggos with
I
all
hope
their
he never
flags.
retires. I hope Buddy lives forever and just plays Paladins.
That, I think, would be a pleasure to all of us. But as far as schedule goes today and looking forward to what we have, we're halfway through our broadcast. Next up is going to be the doubleheader of G2 versus Renegades and Envy. And boy, there's a lot on the line with those matches. But with that, everybody, we're going to go ahead and close things off with this set and send it to a break so you can have a breather before the next slew of action that we have. See you then.